The love. Before and beyond the collective history of our recording contracts, platinum sales awards, and tour dates, we have been the direct recipients of a saving force, a spiritual form of intellect, a spiritual form of intelligence, which can only be described as love. But how soon did we forget who fed us when we were hungry, who taught us when we were ignorant, who clothed us when we were naked, who sheltered us when we were houseless? We were quick to pray for what we wanted in our time of need, but after we were out of the danger or satisfied in some way, we forgot that we've just prayed to something that actually responded. Okay, let me just read this to you one more time. We were quick to pray for what we wanted in our time of need, but after we were out of the danger or satisfied in some way, we forgot that we've just prayed to something that actually responded. The question is, how serious are you about God? Many people believe in God, but only a tiny few actually appreciate God and show it with a life dedicated to union with God. How soon did we forget how helpless and vulnerable we were before the threats of our enemies were miraculously dealt with? How can we forget? How can we forget? Such forgetfulness is almost always reminded by a return to hunger and powerlessness. Miracles happen every day, all day, but most people don't expect them, so they don't see them or experience them. Strange, kooky type events go on all the time, and people simply disregard them as coincidences or they ignore them altogether. Then they criticize their own spiritual experiences as not real or childish or naive. Most people cannot deal with the possible fact that what they are seeing is not all of what they are getting. Did you hear that? What you're seeing is not all of what you're getting. That there is a deeper, faster, stronger reality that can override the mechanics of their own physical universe and its laws. That things might not actually be the way we think they are. For most people, such a revelation is indeed scary and not even to be discussed. But for the select few, such a revelation is inspiring and encourages such people to learn more, seek more, and live more. This is what the gospel of hip hop is all about. It is about the restoration and further development of one's love for hip hop, because it is through love that we learn the deeper lessons regarding the nature of God. The gospel of hip hop points the way to a spiritually lived hip hop life. However, love is the code that tells the universe that you can be trusted with information that must be lived in order to be learned. Know this. The universe thinks and responds to your thinking. I know it's too simple, right? It's too simple. I'll say it again. Know this. The universe responds, the universe thinks and responds to your thinking. And this is the essence of what hip hop is for us. It is our relationship with divinity. Hip hop is what we are doing with our portion of God. This is key to the whole piece right here. The gospel of hip hop points the way to a spiritually lived hip hop life. Boom. However, love is the code that tells the universe that you can be trusted with information that must be lived in order to be understood, or lived in order to be learned. Know this, the universe thinks and responds to your thinking. And this is the essence of what hip hop is for us. It is our relationship with divinity. Hip hop is what we are doing with our portion of God. When we are performing the role of a pimp, a hustler, drug dealer, stick-up kid, whore, murderer, etc. This is what we are doing with our portion of God, the love that has rescued us from self-destruction. When we are performing the role of a teacher, minister, parent, volunteer, MC, etc., this is also what we are doing with our portion of God, the love that inspires us to self-create. For if hip-hop was created explicitly for self-destruction, then self-destruction would be fine and we would thrive upon such a condition. But hip-hop was not created to self-destruct. It was created to self-create. Hip-hop, you don't stop. And this is how we know that its inspiration is of God. Hip-hop's inspiration is of God. Hip-hop came from within us, yet we still had to learn it. Did you hear that? Hip-hop came from within us, yet still we had to learn it. In our early days, we felt the fullness of it, but still had to develop artistic techniques to express it in nature. Hip-hop came to us from within us. Hip-hop is the name of the love that rescued us from oppression. Hip-hop, is the term given to the inner force that inspires us to self-create. This gospel is a tribute to the love that has saved us and brought us together under the title of hip-hop. And this is the message. Love is the message. This is what we originally did our artistic elements for. We did it for the love. That unspoken collective intelligence that is shared psychically by all who belong to the group. Hip hop is the name of the love that rescued us from oppression, period. And there's a period there too. Hip hop, is the term given to the inner force that inspires us to self-create. The force in you that inspires you to self, that's what we are calling hip hop. This gospel is a tribute to that love, to the love that has saved us and brought us together under the title of hip hop. And this is the message. Love is the message. What is the message? Love is the message. What is the message? Love is the message. Those who belong to the group feel the love. Those who care for the group feel the love. Those who belong to the group, belong to the culture. Those who belong to the group feel the love. Those who care for the group feel the love. Those who seek love feel love. And it is this God that we serve. Did you hear that? So again, those who belong to the group feel the love. Those who care for the group feel the love. Those who seek love feel love. And it is this God that we serve. Without form, without name, without origin. The love is that saving force in the world. The saving force in the world many civilizations have written about and have called God for thousands of years. We have observed now that love is a divine activity. Love is a divine activity. An intelligence unto itself that saves, rewards, inspires, and teaches all who are part of its group. Love is God. But love seems to also be selective. It thinks and judges. Many follow the tradition that God is love. And yes, such is the truth. But when you really begin to live out this statement and you find that it is more the fact that love is God. God is a term that makes love understandable to us. The term God is not anything unto itself, but what the term God describes is actually love and the activities of love. Yes, for many people, God is love, but for us, love has been our God. Yes, for many people, reading this again. Yes, for many people, God is love, but for us, love has been our God. Love is what we have served, and it is love that has saved us. God is not above love. Love is God. Love is not from God. Love is the only God we have ever known. The term God is not above the term love, because without love, the term God has no meaning and ceases to exist. For it is love that defines God and empowers God to act. Love is the true God, and to love is God. For it is not God that governs and orders the universe, it is love. And it is not God that destroys the universe, it is the illusory absence of love. Therefore, let us return to our ancient understanding of God as an event of great love that operates as the universe itself. Let us return to our ancestral wisdom formed from the real experiences we have had with God, the love that has enlightened us. Before the kidnap, rape, theft, deception, and murder of our ancestors and grandparents, which forced upon us our modern day view and perception of God, we worship the power of love. We saw it, we felt it, and we expressed it toward one another, even to those who would eventually enslave our parents. Over many years, some of us would track its patterns and repeated behaviors in an effort to communicate and be more in harmony with such a being, love. Of all the virtues available to humanity, love is truly the God of them all. This gospel for hip hop acknowledges the love that sets us aside in the world and has made us hip hop. This gospel acknowledges the grace bestowed upon hip hop and hip hoppers and urges the hip hop community to rise to the promise God has made to us. This gospel for hip hop acknowledges the love that sets us aside in the world, the love that set us aside in the world and has made us hip hop. This gospel acknowledges the grace bestowed upon hip hop and hip hoppers and urges the hip hop community to rise to the promise God has made to us. And what is the promise God has made to us? The promise is that if we turn from our ignorance and immaturity and seek the face of God, we shall experience that ancient blessing that topples the most powerful nations and establishes the nation that has repented and obeyed and has obeyed. The promise is that if we ever dare to rise to our divinity, God promises to meet us there. Again, if we ever dare to rise to our divinity, God promises to meet us there. Our divinity begins with the proper understanding of love and what it means to forgive and care for one another. Did you hear that? Let me read that one more time here. I got to get that in one more time. Our divinity, okay, begins with the proper understanding of love and what it means to forgive and care for one another. With this understanding, we learn that we could never really love God. We can only be love God toward each other. We have observed now that the way to experience God is to experience true love. And this is achieved not by receiving love, but by being love itself. Such an approach to spiritual living begins one's understanding of hip hop's spiritual life. And again, this has nothing to do with the spiritual concepts and experiences of other cultures far older than ours. For we have realized now that your culture is your religion. And it is impossible for us hip hoppers to have a relationship with God through a culture that is not inherently ours. Our culture is our direct connection to God. Our cultural life is the actual path that we must take to arrive at the presence and power of God. For we have realized now that your culture is your religion. And it is impossible for hip hoppers to have a relationship with God through a culture that is not inherently ours. Our culture is our direct connection to God. Our cultural life is the actual path. Our cultural life is the actual path that we must take to arrive at the presence and power of God. Much respect to all who seek the face of God. However, this gospel reflects the actual notes taken over a 14-year period with over 40 years of living hip hop spiritually. Others may have discovered other truths, but this gospel documents the spiritual truths we as a hip hop community have discovered at the birth of our civilization. Others may have discovered other truths, but this gospel documents the spiritual truths we as a hip hop community have discovered at the birth of our civilization. These are the principles we must never forget. This is what it means for us to be and remain free, to take responsibility for ourselves, to be able to chart our own path toward the divine and make our own humble observations regarding spiritual, cultural, and political matters. Are we not free-thinking adults? Does God not speak to us as well? Well, let us begin acting as such, beginning with the documentation of what we have seen, heard, and felt regarding the activity of God for ourselves. Let us, as scholars and hip hop citizens, acknowledge the presence of the love that has saved us. With this gospel, let us proclaim our reconnection and trust for the love that has guided us thus far. We respect the experiences older civilizations have had with God, but now it is time we experience God for ourselves. We no longer need an interpreter. We no longer need an interpreter. Our culture is our religion, and our religion is our culture. We no longer need an interpreter. And here's the truth. We no longer need an interpreter as a culture. Our culture is our religion, and our religion is our culture. That's it. Such a life is not for everyone, though. Hip hop is alive. It is a thinking faculty in the universe itself, and it chooses who it shall reveal its secrets to. Those of us who have committed ourselves to observing the divine activities of love and human affairs have observed that the force that brought hip hop into existence planned, protected, and nurtured us long before we knew we were being developed into hip hop. Hip hop started for us before we were aware of it. Our observations over these years shows that divine love was the first act that got hip hop started. Did you hear that? Our observations show that divine love was the first act that got hip hop started. Something cared about us. Something cared about our group. Long before we knew what we would become, a loving force was at work guiding our steps and molding our collective character to become hip hop today. And we acknowledge the existence of this guiding force. It is this force that we owe our existence. All praises due. All praise, glory, and worship be to God. The love that has made us hip hop. The love that made us hip hop. The care that made us hip hop. The guidance that made us hip hop. For we now know for sure that we belong to God, knowing that hip hop itself has its source in eternal being, along with everything else in the known and unknown universe. Know this, hip hop exists for divine reasons. And we have come into material existence as part of the divine order of the universe. We, hip hop, are not a mistake. We are a manifestation of divine love. We are not here to just sing and dance. We are part of the divine order of things. Hip hop is a product of human genius, clearly inspired by divine mind. Therefore, our first work as a young nation is to take the source of our being more seriously. And this is what the Temple of Hip Hop is all about. Here, we approach the being of hip hop seriously. Announced in 1996, the Temple of Hip Hop was formed to work in 3 phases. One, as an organization that protects, preserves, and promotes hip hop culture. Two, to open a cultural learning center and facility for hip hop culture, featuring a museum exhibiting artifacts of hip hop culture. Three, to build a school recognizing and teaching hip hop as the consciousness of our common culture. And now four, which is the era of three up at the top. Four, to create an authentic collaborative history for the culture. And this was, of course, quoted from a Men of Hip Hop calendar series in 1998. You can see the era is that it says the Temple of Hip Hop was formed to work in 3 phases, and then they give you 4 phases. That's an error, but we left it because we're quoting someone else's work. So we didn't correct it. We didn't say put put 4 phases here because you're writing 4 phases. We just left it as it is. Spiritual writing is like that. Mistakes are not really mistakes. So just take that in as well as a little bit of scholarly knowledge. Not only is 32 explaining what the Temple of Hip Hop is actually here to do, one of its explanations, actually here to do, but you could see that it says it works in 3 phases, but when it's printed out, it's actually 4 phases. Paragraph 33. In short, the Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation society and ministry established to ensure the longevity and further development of traditional hip hop in the world. Our society is made up of exceptional hip hoppers who are united in the cause for hip hop's cultural, political, and spiritual expansion. Our society is made up of exceptional hip hop who are united in the cause for hip hop's cultural, political, and spiritual expansion. Did you get that? To join our society here of hip hop cultural architects, our society is made up of exceptional hip hop who are united in the cause for hip hop's cultural, political, and spiritual expansion. Yes, indeed. Reading on to 34. However, again, the Temple of Hip Hop, as well as the gospel of hip hop, are not intended for all people, even those who are participating in hip hop's culture and elements. Both the Temple of Hip Hop and its gospel attract those hip hoppers who intuitively feel what is already presented in this first instrument and only need to be reminded of such truth in a culturally relevant way. For many people, this gospel will be more of a confirmation than an education. You got it? More of a confirmation than an education. Nothing that is taught here is actually new. However, the way in which it is taught is indeed new. Truth is truth, no matter where it comes from. It is only in the way that such truth is presented that gives the impression that what is being taught is somehow new or original. Much of what is taught here is ancient and timeless, and you will be able to find many of our principles in a variety of spiritual circles. But the reason for this gospel is that no one in my time seems to be speaking directly to the hip hop community regarding its spiritual, cultural, and political development. And part of the reason for this, I suspect, is that no one can do this work for us. This work we must do for and by ourselves. This is that part of our journey where we must go it alone, blazing our own path toward union with the divine. Know this. Revolution only works for those that participate in it. Tradition reveals its secrets and its powers only to those who are committed to the tradition. Know this. Revolution only works for those who participate in it. Know this. Revolution only works for those that participate in it. Tradition reveals its secrets and its powers only to those who are committed to the tradition. God speaks to those who speak to God. God listens to those who listen to God. The hip hop life that we can, the hip hop, the hip hop life that we live can only really be experienced by true hip hoppers committed to living hip hop spiritually. Others can read this gospel, watch instructional hip hop DVDs, even watch us imitating the effects of our real hip hop lives. But ultimately, if you have not committed your entire being to the spiritual exploration of hip hop, it will be a long time before you begin to experience the awareness of a spiritually lived hip hop life. And this goes for anything, really. Even further, those who choose not to develop themselves or the craft which feeds them and their children become subject to the agendas of those who have. And on a more personal note, if the people around you are not participants in the revolution you have embarked upon, they will not be able to comprehend your ways or take part in the fruits of your success. They have not traveled your path, therefore they will not they will not have in parentheses know your experience or perception. You can help them. You can give to them. You can assist them. You can teach them. You can love them. You can feed them. You can advise them. But you cannot share your space and time with those who have not traveled your path or have not gained your experience. You cannot trust those who haven't traveled your path with the commitments your path requires. Your path is for you. Your blessings are for you. Your talents are uniquely yours. Yes, you are special. Everything else can be shared except the actual living of your own life experiences. These are authentically yours. You should keep a journal, such as your personal gospel. The love in your heart will want to unite with those who suffer and are in need. But please remember that everyone is where they are because of who they are. Let me say that again. Please remember that everyone is where they are because of who they are. To truly save a person from their own illusions and hardships, it is not you that must unite with them, it's they that must unite with you. You uniting with the ignorant and the immature will only lead to your own suffering. You uniting with the ignorant and the immature will only lead to your own suffering. Your natural humility and care for others will direct you to suffer with those who surround you because without you, they would be lost. You know it, they know it, but they front like you ain't special and you agree. I ain't special. I'm not above anyone. What I do, anyone can do if they just put their minds to it, end quote. All of this is simply not true. Because of the life path that you have chosen and mastered, you are actually special. All of this is simply not true. The idea of I ain't nobody, I can't do nothing, nobody perfect, da 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 boo 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 boo. All of this is not true because, and I'm reading this again, because of the life path that you have chosen and mastered, you are actually special. Yes, you are respectfully above everyone else who has not mastered even their own life path and purpose. And no, everyone cannot do what you do or even what you have done. Realize your uniqueness right now and let no one degrade you or lead you to doubt yourself with the experiences of their lives. Paragraph 43, we're coming to the close of this. Paragraph 45, we're coming to the close of this particular reading. Paragraph 45. Yes, you are special. You are hip hop. Your only challenge is your own belief in the existence of your own hip hop reality. Repent now. Your victory is closer to you than your hands. Prophet Farrakhan, Minister Louis Farrakhan, has already said to us, quote, you are not conscious of how powerful God has made you in the wrong direction. Farrakhan was dissing us. Straight up. Quote, you are not conscious of how powerful God has made you in the wrong direction. But if you turn in the right direction, You will spark revolution all over the world, but it's not a revolution of bloodshed, the prophet continued. I can't be like Jonah anymore, and neither can you, hiding from your mission, running away from what your real assignment is. So the fish was swallowing you up. But when that boy learned to pray, he was spit up on dry land and he said, I surrender, God. I've been fighting you, but I know it's time. I hope that you will say, I hope that you will say, I surrender, God. I know it's time that I do better than I am doing. Money is not more important than the rise of a suffering people into the fulfillment of the promise of God. Nothing is more important than your people becoming truly free. Money is not more important than the rise of a suffering people into the fulfillment of the promise of God. Nothing is more important than your people becoming truly free. This is it. This is it. Money is not more important than the rise of a suffering people into the fulfillment of the promise of God. Nothing is more important than your people becoming truly free. There it is.